So, hi everybody and welcome back to this Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 111 and in this video we are talking about blueprint debugging. Normally we would talk in general debugging, but general debugging is not only blueprint debugging, it's a little bit bigger. Let me show you what I mean. Here I have the official Unreal Engine 5 documentation site. We have here the blueprint debugging page. And I will link it in the description below and you can read this a little bit through. But we will talk also a little bit about this one, not all, but a little bit. And then we have here, for example, a gameplay debugging, and it shows us some debugging information about gameplay. And we are not talking about this one, and there are different kind of debuggings. But first of all, we have to know what debugging at all is and have to talk about that. And we get started. First of all, what is debugging? Debugging is actually nothing else than, so in general, than analyzing your code step by step with tools. And so when you hear debugging, you have to think about it that are helper tools for the programmer to analyze your own code. And with this analyzing tools, sorry, with this analyzing tools, you can find, for example, errors. You can find, for example, you can check your workflow. You can see your data. You can make many things. But in general, when you hear debug, they are trying to analyze their code and find errors. That's so the general thing what they do most time, to find errors. So with that said, let's jump to our blueprint. I go here to my game mode, double click on it here, and now I want analyze, for example, let me open this one here. I want analyze now this line of code. This is the event begin play. And the question is, first of all, before I analyze anything, why I want to analyze this. And like I said, if you want to understand what happens from this node to the next node to the next node, and you want to watch their values, then you can do something like a debug. Or let's say you have here an error anywhere and there comes a value which is not expected, then you can also use a debug. But most time starters, they have their own strategy. They are not using debug. And that's okay, because what they are using is also a kind of debug. And let me show what most starters use before we use the debug tool here directly. So when a starter sees an error or he tries to analyze his code, what he is doing most time is he goes to this point. He says, okay, I want to know what this node is doing, for example, and then he drags out here and write print string. Okay, that's not possible here, but let's make this one. So drag out here, write print string, and this print string is a very powerful node because it will print out anything what you put here in. For example, you want to know what's the value here, then you can drag and drop, and there is a conversion node. And now when I start this one here, this place will print it on your screen. And when I start this one, for example, you see it stays here anything hello, very short. You can make the time a little bit longer, I think. Let's say the duration here to 7, so we can read it a little bit. And then again, compile, save, and start. And now you can see it says hello, and this is the Infinity Warrior C. So what you did here actually is you analyzed this node here. With this print string, you analyzed the output or the current value of this node here. And this is a very good way. There is nothing wrong. And that works. So if you want to analyze it this way, this is not wrong, it will work. And you will find this kind of print string in many cases. For example, check if something is valid. Let me find this one as well. let's find another example here. Let's say I have here this box here. When I start my game, we know this box here, for example, let's see if this is it. For example, when I overlap here, I'm teleporting at this place. When I stop this game, start this game again, and switch here my character, for example, now I'm my first character, but now I overlap it, I'm not teleporting. And the reason for this is we have to check what the reason is. Let's go to this teleporter here. I click it, I go to the right side to the outliner, and I open up this blueprint, and now I try to analyze what happens. Why the Infinitive Warrior was teleported and why not. Before you analyze anything, you are using your brain. Your brain means just follow the nodes. So you see, okay, here's our on component begin overlap, which means, okay, we have here collision box, then you go here to on component begin overlap, and then this on component begin overlap has here other actor cast, and here you see just without any debugging tools and any string check, this one will cast to this Infinitive Warrior, right? That's so you need nothing. You just need your brain and work with it. That's good. But actually, that's not working all the time. So, for example, my brain tricked me sometime, which means I expect that it works. And actually I missed one little setting and it is not working, and that can be hard to find, and that's why we need checks something. For example, let's say I don't know that this check only reacts for Infinitive Warrior. What I can do is here, all right, this cast failed is I can drag here out one way print string. Perhaps I say, hey, perhaps this one will fail all time. That's the reason, and we can write here cast fail, for example, and we know exactly the place because we have here this one. This is one way. So when I start this again, and I switch here to my first person character, and indeed left, it was again too short. I should set this time really a little bit longer. So we can see this. Let's make this also 7 seconds. File save here again. And then here, when I have this, you can see I switch and cast failed. And I see, okay, now I get it. When I'm not teleported here because it fails all time the cast. All right, so, and if I have now a hint that here is something wrong, then I think a little bit why the cast it fails, and then I see, okay, now I get it. It says here Infinitive Warrior, but when I go here and see this one, I'm not the Infinitive Warrior, now I'm the first person warrior. Of course, there is a little bit more to it, but yeah, you have analyzed this place here, for example, with cast failed, but let's make here one more print string to make it real clear, because I analyzed it. I only found actually that the cast fails. I found not the value, and I said you can even print out the value here. This one here, and now this one you connect. No, we don't need to connect because this is a cast failed value, and we will see the value what happens here. And let's check this also 7 seconds here, so it stays here a little bit longer. And you see we are analyzing our own code with this one. So what happens exactly on this place? And this is the way which many starters do, and actually also professionals sometimes, why? Because you don't need all time debugging tools. If it's fast, if it's good, make it this way, that works. So let's check what happens again. I go here, I switch, and now why is the cast failing? Cast failed. The other thing is not even popping up, so no information. It says just cast failed. Let's go back, and now it's strange. Wait a minute. Why it printing not out here anything? And the reason for this one is because I made here for example, a mistake. What is the mistake? If this cast fails here, of course, here is no value because this value is failed because the cast failed. The node, I have a node understanding mistake here, something how the node works. This is not the way the node works. Without, I can't get here the information. Here in this case, of course, you have to think why a cast can fail. And then the way you would do this is then here, I need here this other actor, not here. So I made it, let's go back here. Let's connect this one back and let's connect this one here because this actor is wrong, right? And then you analyze it a little bit more. Then you go here again, go here, and now you see, now we see why. First of all, the cast failed and the input, it says BP first person character. And we analyzed anyhow, okay, here at this point, it comes out a first person character. And at this point, it says the cast failed. So this one is the problem thing because the first person character is not here. And when I read now the name, yes, it tries to cast to the infinitive warrior. And that's why it's not working, because I try to cast to an infinitive warrior and the other actor, which is here, it's the first person character. And here, one more note. Okay, we have analyzed this one. Perfect. We understand this one. But the next step is sometimes here in this case, it says cast failed. This is not really an error in this case. Why is this not an error? Because this is my intention. For example, let me start this one fast again. For example, with the third person character, I want teleport, but when I'm the first person character, I don't want teleport perks. That's intentional. So there, the cast fails is intentional there. Or for example, here is coming my enemy, it's running and he is overlapping with this one. Then I want also that the cast fails. So in some cases you have to think it's intentional, some cases it's not intentional. And what you do is you can analyze it. And the first step is, let's repeat this fast, you use your brain. In most time it works, but is, for example, in sometimes, like in my cases, there are many cases for me where my brain works not, because if you make something very fast, you make some, let's say, assignment mistakes. Assignment mistakes are most times something like you put in some wrong values and then it's not going there, or you try to make a wrong approach. Wrong approach means you try to cast anything which is not castable, and then you are wondering, hey, why is this not working? And there was also this teleport example. That was really hard to find actually. For example, this teleport here. I'm teleporting here. This is a little bit hard to see. When I go down here a little bit, this will not work with teleport, and that's a little bit harder to find. So I try to teleport here, I run in, and it's not teleporting. To analyze this error, it's a little bit more difficult. And of course you can try to analyze like before why it's not. You will find that this one is not working, this teleport anyhow, and then you play around and see what's going on, and then you will see you have to put it a little bit higher because this height was not right, and then after you do this, this will work. All right, that was only this one, but let's continue a little bit. So this kind of stuff you should know when you are using blueprints. And in my starter tutorial series till now, I have used the blueprints, but I have not showed you basics, because I hope that you watched other basic tutorial series for blueprints, because there are so many nodes. And what I mean with basics are not actually all the nodes. What I mean with basics are, for example, what this basic structures means. For example, what is a branch, right? So when I say a branch is just a if, and you can put here a condition, and then if the condition is true, it goes to true, and if it's false, it's false. That's enough. That's also good for a blueprint. But this kind of things are actually basic coding stuff. And this kind of stuff I have not taught in this tutorial series. I taught only how to use this, which is also basic coding stuff. But I hope you already watched some basic blueprint codings so that you know this. And if you watch some basic blueprint coding stuff, then you should know also debug. Now we go a little bit deeper to the debug. Instead of using this print string, which is also absolute good, it helps. And you see, we analyzed a little bit this kind of stuff here, here. And with print string, you can analyze much. But there is now also this blueprint debug, and we go here on top to this debug folder, and we can click here blueprint debug, and it opens up here a new window, and it will give us many options here. And before it gives us any options, you see nothing here. And the reason for that is we have set a debug point. A debug point is let's say the place where you want to stop and check what happens. So let's say, like before, I want to analyze this cast node, for example. So I click on it and I say I want to set a debug point here. For example, you can right click on it, and then it's called here, I think, a breakpoint, a toggle breakpoint. What is this add breakpoint? The same thing. And here, this breakpoint, it's here. Actually, this breakpoints means it stops, which means when I start this game, now I start this game, that was not good. I must come to this place here. So you see, there was happening nothing actually. And the reason for that was I was not there. But now I overlapped with this node here, with this, let me show you this box here, right? And this box was here placed in our scene, and my character is right now overlapping it anyhow. And this blueprint node is exactly stopping where I set this breakpoint. And it shows here, okay, I overlapped with your box, I get this signal, I go cast to this one, and this is good, but what's next? What comes next? And that's important. Here on top, we have some options. And here we can see, locate the currently active node. When you click this one, this is this one. We see this is the active node here. But more important are the other three here. The one, let's start with this one in the middle. The middle says go to the next. This one, and then we go to the first one. The first one says go into the function or event. For example, here we have no function. So when I click here in, it happens nothing because it just go here to the next step. But when you have here a function call, it will jump to the function. So we have here not functions. And then I can call here again in, again, nothing. Here is no function. So it's just jumping over. And perhaps teleport is also no function. So, and then it jumps to the next place, and you can then analyze it, so and more. So more important, let me start this fast again, because now let's see what happens here. So why is this good or why is this bad? Let's go here fast to the debug tool, and now you see you can disable all the breakpoints that we don't want, delete all breakpoints. Now this is just some options to select and deselect. We are jumping to this blueprint window, and this blueprint window is filled now with some options here. And before we understand this all kind of stuff, you have to read this debug informations. But in general, these are just the variables available, and it says the current values, more or less, the current values. That's so more or less, but you have to read the documentation, how to read them very well, what this is, and so on. So at this point, we are not even we can use it, but here are too much information at this point. Let's say you read later and analyze this, and then you will see that's very helpful because that's the main reason why we make this. But when we go back here again and let's find our active node, you can actually use here also some informations. What informations you can use here? For example, with your mouse, you can hover about over, for example, this other actor right here. And now, at this point, this other actor is already showing here some information. And that's very valuable. So I can click, okay, it shows me a little bit too much information right now. So I say, oh, that's nice. But actually, I'm only interested in this first information, which is, it says, right now, at this point, we have the infinitive warrior here. Right? So at this point, when the debugger is here, from here comes infinitive warrior. So let me show you this one again in another way. For example, I start this one here. Now I switch to the first person character. And now I go again to this. Here I have a debug on this teleport node. Bang. It stops again here. But now I can hover my mouse here. And this time I see directly, oh, the input is this time first person character, which means this node will fail. And when I step now here on top again, we have go forth, go in. It's most time go forth, but when you have a function would be go in, let's say go forth, bang, and it's not going forth. And the reason for that is, when we look back here, I'm back in gameplay. The reason for that is here was a cast fail. And the reason for that, let me go back here a little bit, is this was first person character. I still can see it, that's nice. And first person character, but this node is asking for third person character, which means this cast failed will be activated. It's not shown here now, that's bad. So anyway, that still worked. And you see, you can get this informations, all what you think, just by following this this notes here. Let's see, let's make here a little bit better. Okay, let's see if the cast not fails, what happens then. Or let's make here, teleport this one here. Let's stop here. We make here a breakpoint, and a shortcut is, instead of clicking all time, right click, you can read it. F9 is a shortcut. We can toggle on. So F9, press one time, it adds up breakpoint. Press one more time, it removes it. Okay, I add here one and I remove this one because here I want not stop. So what I'm doing now is start this one again, and I'm running over this one. I want to check just this one. And you see, okay, here's this teleport box, and now I can see what happens. At this point, when I hover my mouse over this one, it says, okay, it was infinitive warrior. The cast node says, okay, this one indicates the cast is not failing because it's going on. If it would fail, it would stop here. Then I hover my mouse over this node here and see if this is right. Yes, I have the infinitive warrior result here. This one is later used here as a target. And if I hover my mouse over this one, oh, I see it's infinitive warrior, which is the target here. So you can see, you can all see the values which comes in and so on. Let's see if I see other values here. So for example, this get all class node, I hover my mouse now over this array here. I click on this and we see, I click on this one. Let's see what's, you can analyze this, of course, a little bit deeper and deeper, depends on the tools which you have activated. And here it says, okay, we have num1 and we have an array, there is 0, and this one is the target point C. Okay, and then you can open this one up and then you can find other things, but we already find this target point because here blueprint target point was our thing. And we analyze some here. I hover my mouse over this one here and you see again, okay, here at this point, I make a get call and I'm getting anyhow this class here. And at this point, you see numbers here. Okay, that's right. I wanted the location. So here I see I get indeed a location, and the location which I get here from this thing here is, I can see it here. Let me click this here. I can see it by opening up. Okay, this is 942 and so on. So, and yeah, you see you can analyze all the things what you normally would do in your brain and check if this is the thing which you thought it is. Sometimes it is, and if there was an error, most time it was not. There is anywhere in this line an error. For example, I expected here, don't know, another location, and if this one shows here the current location where you want to go, it goes here, here, here. Perhaps most time what happens to me is, for example, I write here 57, I wanted to write 570, accidentally I wrote 10 more because I paid not attention or something like that, and I was wondering, hey, why I'm jumping way off. Okay, this is still an easy error, but yeah, that happens sometimes, and then you can check this kind of errors. Okay, let's talk a little bit more. Of course, when you go to, I think I will not go too deep now in this one, because debug is very important that you master this one if you are coding a lot. For example, Blueprint is also coding. What I mean with coding is not C++. Blueprint, what we are doing here, this is a visual coding where it's easier, I think, personally, and makes more fun. No, I mean, it's not text-based, because text-based coding many don't like so much, and visual coding on the other side many like, because it's a little bit easier. It's no text, you don't have to remember names and so something like that. What I mean with this is not remembering names. In text coding, for example, if you want to find something, you need to know the exactly text name and write it correct, right? But here in noding it, say I want to find print string, I write here print, I write just print, and then it pops up and say yes, exactly, that was it, and then I can check some other option. Perhaps I can use this this is okay. You see, that's why visual coding is a little bit easier because you don't have to write the correct names. But yeah, but you have still to learn debug, I think, because this, if you code a lot, this can make your life in general easier and will help you. What I wanted to show you more, there are much more. I think you should read the documentation for more things, because yes, this debug window will pop up later, and this value is what we saw before will be shown there again. Let me jump in fast. And here, when I go to this debug window, all these things here will be then shown here and updated, depends on what you do. So for example, if you go then further, it says at this point, this value, this variable has this, you can see it, this variable, whatever it has now false, this has false, and here is a better list. And when you click then forward, here you can click forward, for example, let's click it. And this kind of values will be updated, depends on the place where you are and how much you can go on. And this is also very nice when you check your code's value, when you analyze your code and so on. And there's much more to talk, but I will not dive more into it, because I think as a starter, when you master this kind of stuff, it's very easy. You just need to know this F9 here. It pops up, and then you hover your mouse over it. There is one more thing perhaps which I should mention here. For example, you want to see these values here, or there are two more things which I should mention here, at least before I say read the documentation. There is something like when you click here on it, right click on it, and you see you have these options here, right? But interesting is you can right click on this node 2 times in different ways. So first of all, let's click here, right click, and you see this notion like before. But now I click on it again, right click, but this time I hover over this this node here, right? and right click here. And now I have different options. And here is again this watch this value option. And this is again a debug interesting thing, because right now it says 00 because the program is not running. And you can set something like this during your let's go to the other place. Let's go to gameplay. Here I have more to watch, and let's do this one here. Let's say watch here, watch this value. I want to watch this value. Right click, watch this value, and you see there pops up something like that. But okay, watch this value. And now when I start, I need a compile there. It's not. And then I start this thing here. I go here. It jumps here, but I have also selected watch this values, right? Okay, that was bad. That was not the right thing. Of course, I should set when I watch values, I should set also the breakpoint near anywhere. For example, I want watch this values. Let's set the breakpoint here, F9 here. Then let's start this one again. And now you can see this watch values are populated. It's easier to read. So when you say here watch values, then you have not even to hover your mouse over it. So it says, okay, here it's anyhow 00 and 00. And is this true? Is this actually true? Yes, it is, because yeah, it is popping up all this information here on this value, and it makes easier to read. And that is also one reason why when I do blueprint coding, I use this style here, that I stretch all these lines here a little bit more, because that's the only reason why I make this, I think. Because you can read the values easier. Let's do watch a little bit more values. For example, I don't know if I have here. I can click here, watch this value. Here I click this one, watch this value. And now start this one. And yeah, you can see all these values take a little bit space. You see, it's a little bit long because they are translating this kind of information here on top. And you can see if you have now a style, for example, you have cramped all the nodes over it. Let's stop this one and say you have all something like that. I had something like that. Then it's all time covered and I can't see. But if you have a style where they are all, now that was also not very good. It was also not really readable, because this is readable, but this one, you see, we need here a little bit more place to read it. You still can read it, right? The value is here BSBP first person character. Here it's not so good readable. Perhaps you put this a little bit down to make it readable. And the reason for that is just to see the values instantly, right? When you go here, instead of hovering your mouse all time over it, then you can go here, read it. Okay, this is expected, this is expected, this is there, yes. And then you find also a problem, or you analyze your code. And you see, when you hear debug, it is just to help you, right? So, or to analyze all what you did. But most time when anyone says debug, they mean there is an error and they want to analyze this error and they want to find it. And that's why they use these debug tools to see what the code is actually doing. So that was that. And there are much more. Like I said, I will link you this kind of things. There are more places. There are animation debugging, there are widget debugging, and all time when you hear debugging, it means just analyzing tools to help the programmer to find errors, or just to analyze the game flow. For example, here's gameplay debugger, and here it shows many informations on runtime, for example. Okay, I will also put this below. And there's one more thing what I want to mention. When you run the Unreal Engine 5 launcher, and there you have also some options to activate debugging tools symbols or something like. It takes almost, I don't know, 29 gigabytes, but this kind of stuff is then very helpful if you analyze your code. So if you have enough space, and don't worry about space, just install this debugging tools as well, learn debugging, and this will help you if you have problems with blueprints. At least it will point out and analyze your code and helps you. All right. But the general idea is print string, what our starter is doing is not wrong. It's also the same thing, a little bit slower. But actually it's very fast in some cases when you just need to know one value here. For example, you can make, like I said, instead of setting here watch value, you can still make here print string, what you all do. Don't forget, it's still powerful, print string, and then just connect this one here and then put it out. You see, you can set this up also very fast. It's not bad, it's not worse, but still learn debugging for other purposes, for, let's say, for more difficult purposes, to follow the values and so on. Okay, I think I talked too much, but yeah, I think debugging is very important in normally in programming, also in visual programming. And with that said, if you have any questions or any complaints like all time, write it in the comments, and good luck and bye.